trauma, it causes the brain to get dysregulated. So if we can regulate it back, it's not the trauma, it's your body's response to it. And that can actually be helped a lot. The message is one of hope. Welcome to Root Cause Holistic Health. I'm Dr. Jon Harmon, physician, brain health expert, and your host on this no-fluff journey into whole body healing.
And I'm Tracey Green, wellness coach, mom, and co-host. This is the space where we get real about what actually heals, not just what's trending.
If you're done with surface level advice and ready to understand your body, your mind, and your health from the inside out, this podcast is for you.
We're here for the raw conversations most people avoid. We don't sugarcoat, we don't shame. We offer tools, truths, and transformation. Welcome back to Root Cause Holistic. I'm Tracey Green, wellness coach, mom, and co-host. I'm here today again with our host, Dr. Jon Harmon, and we are going to talk about brain dysregulation. In a world where we have words like ADD, ADHD, autism, all these things surrounding brain issues, we thought it was very fitting to have our very own brain doc go over what exactly is brain dysregulation. All right, Doc, take it away.
Okay, that it is not often talked about in that way. Most people talk about things like a symptom. I have depression, anxiety. Something happened to me, we had a death in the family, different things happen, and now I'm stuck in this pattern. I have this bad symptom, or I'm not sleeping. I can't shut my brain off, which also is often accompanied by gut issues. I'm not digesting my food very well. I have stomach pain, I have diarrhea, whatever it is, they seem to go hand in hand. So my practice in Meridian, Idaho is called Clear Mind Idaho. And we help people with that brain dysregulation. So I want to do a brief explanation what that means. And I think a really simple way of looking at the brain, since it runs on electricity, you have to imagine the brain is like 2,600 different motors, and they each run a different thing. And like a remote control car, when you have a little joystick and you go that way, it goes faster, or this way it goes slower, or left or right. The brain is like that. If a part of the brain processes a certain thing, if we have too much or not enough electrical activity in that place, we start to get symptoms. We get more of what it does or less of what it does. Like if I didn't have enough electrical flow or activity in the place where I'm trying to recall memories, that would be, I can't remember. Or if it's in the place where I process anger, now I'm going to be right on the verge. These are your road ragers. Mm-hmm. They're already up there. Their brain's already hot and running hot. As a kid, we used to have a little carburetor with a little, you could tune your car with a screwdriver in my mini bike. You're running rich, you're running too lean. The brain is like that. And people always ask me, how did I get here? What caused my brain to do this? And I've come up with a really simple explanation without getting, it's overwhelming to talk about the brain. So I have very simple explanation of how this happens. There are three things that can cause our brain to shift. Head trauma, you've heard of concussion, and then somebody gets angry. They have anger issues, so they have a focus issue, they have attention problems, they have all kinds of different problems. But one of them, a big one, is anger. They turn into a raging person
as a result
of the head trauma. Or it can be severe emotional trauma. And this is what happened in my family back in 2010 or 2011 that caused me to go searching for answers, because 4 years of drugs and counseling were not working. So I went on a journey to try to find things to fix brains, and that led me on this path. The other thing is chemical exposure, mold. One of the telltale signs of mold exposure is OCD.
Interesting.
But it can also be anger and other things. But if people get exposed to these things, we're not always aware that we were exposed. Even walking outside, There's 100,000 other chemicals that didn't exist when I was a kid. Just walking outside, or glyphosate in our food, we get exposed to these chemicals. Well, our brain goes on high alert. Holy cow, something's happening, all hands on deck. I got to do something. I always tell a little story. Like, I'm in the jungle. I'm walking down the path. There's tall grass on both sides of the path, and I can see 100 yards ahead. And about 50 yards ahead, a tiger comes into my path, turns his head, gives me the stink eye. I'm going to eat you. And then takes the first leap to come and get me. First thing that happens, that emergency system goes on. My pupils dilate. I got to see the tiger hiding in the grass. That's why they have stripes, so they can hide in grass. I have to see all that stuff. Superhuman hearing, increased heart rate, increased adrenaline, increased awareness, and everything outside seems like it's going in slow motion because everything on the inside is going really, really fast. You probably heard somebody say, I got in an accident, and it seemed like everything was going in slow motion. Well, it is, because that system takes place or kicks in. And if it's ever happened to any one of you listeners or you, Tracey, in a life-threatening situation, you know that's a remarkable system. I mean, people lift cars, but it's supposed to be temporary. My emergency neurotransmitters kick in, and a very simple way of understanding what happens is that all of the unnecessary things, the things that I do not need to survive over the next 10 minutes, digestion, of course, sleep, immune function, that seems kind of odd, but I can take care of the immune function later after the injury or whatever. The things I don't need. Do I need to pay attention to a conversation when I'm running from the tiger? No. Do I need to make financial decisions? No. Do I need to talk about philosophy? No. Do I need to pay attention at all? No, I just have to figure out a way to get out of here or fight. So therein lies the problem. If that system, that emergency response, our sympathetic nervous system, stays active, overactive, those things that went dormant when I was running from the tiger stay dormant. And this is why, this is one of the reasons they tell women, don't make any financial decisions within a year after your husband dies.
Of course.
They can't. It's not functioning.
No.
And people come into my office and they're complaining of anxiety, social anxiety. Well, there's something out there and your brain is ready. I don't know what it is, but it's out there. So I don't want to go out because it might get me. Now I have social anxiety. I don't want to engage with people. They might be that threat. They're not consciously thinking that, but their brain is set for something to happen. And so I'm in constant anticipation of that because I'm all ramped up. I can't shut my brain down at night. It's going 100 miles an hour because after all, that thing's out there and I have to see it. That's a very simple way of understanding. Things go dormant that I don't need. I'm running from tiger. Unfortunately, anxiety is prevalent because that's the first thing that happens when you see that tiger chasing you. Anxiety, I have to get out. If you're not anxious, you're not going to make it. You have to get. And so now someone's living in a constant state of anticipation, anxiety, which leads to depression and starts at anxiety. And there are actual shifts in our brain waves, particularly with that anxiety and depression. The brain is supposed to have a higher power in alpha on the right side of the brain. Beta needs to be higher powered on the left. Beta is fast stuff. Left side of the brain is faster, fast processing, math and analytical. Whereas the right side is not. It's more attention and social engagement and reading facial and stuff. If alpha gets more powerful on the left, that's depression. If beta gets more powerful on the right, that's anxiety. So there are well-known things in my circle. I call myself the brain health guy because my certification is in reading those QEEGs, quantitative electroencephalograms, and knowing what it means, what the probability is of what that regulation means, because we know, like I said earlier, when there's too much or not enough, you'll get this symptom or that symptom. So what do you do about that? You're stuck there. Here in my practice, we use several different modalities. One is microcurrent neurofeedback, and it actually sends in a very specific frequency of brainwaves at 3 trillionths of a watt and trains the brain from the faulty pattern. And then we use specific laser protocols to activate energy production in the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite of the sympathetic, which then starts to bring down the overactive sympathetic. But the main thing from this about 10-minute presentation is that the message is, it's not a life sentence. You're not stuck there forever. There are answers. You know, we might be able to help you find someone in your city who does similar work, where you can get relief from that and get your brain normalized, the regulation, the electrical impulses in your brain normalized, so that you don't get symptoms when it gets too far out of the range of normal. And that's when we get symptoms. We don't have symptoms when it's firing normally. Now we have personality, we have memories, we have trauma, and those types of things. Trauma, it causes the brain to get dysregulated. So if we can regulate it back, it's not the trauma, it's your body's response to it. And that can actually be helped a lot.
It's interesting you had mentioned OCD, ADHD, autism. They're all intertwined based on what could have happened.
What parts of the brain are, took the biggest hit, so to speak.
Exactly. Exactly. So for our listeners out there that are not in Meridian, Idaho, in our show notes, we'll have links to our office here in Meridian, and then you can also DM us and we can help you get a hold of other brain docs in your area as well.
We don't want to fly into Boise twice a week.
Yeah.
From Florida.
The city of trees. Some people might.
The message is one of hope, because it helps people understand it's not a life sentence. The brain is an organ, and it's supposed to fire within certain limits. Once it gets outside of that, you get symptoms. Well, the goal would be to get it back into a normal regulation, and then somebody can just go back to their normal self and without those symptoms.
This is a really big topic. So like Dr. Harmon mentioned at the top of the show, we will have a longer show later on discussing some of these topics in greater detail.
Yes, and that will be a little bit more technical, but we'll unpack it for people.
I love it. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for our next episode of Root Cause Holistic.
Bye-bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to Root Cause Holistic Health. We're here to help you uncover what's really going on and empower you to take the next step in your healing journey.
Whether you're a mom, a dad, or just someone ready to stop settling for Band-Aid fixes, we hope today's episode gave you something to think about.
If you found this episode valuable, do us a favor, share it with someone you love, and leave a review so we can reach more families like yours.
Make sure to hit follow so you don't miss next week's episode. We've got more honest conversations, practical tips, and root cause wisdom coming your way.
Until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and most of all, stay connected to what truly matters.
We'll see you next time on Root Cause Holistic Health.